The Los Angeles Dodgers are by far the best team in baseball, and that might be a bad thing for them. Because despite having far and away the best record in baseball, they aren't even the favorites to win the World Series. And this isn't some weird odds maker who doesn't believe in the team. Because if anything, the Dodgers are unlucky this season. And this is despite being on track to win over 110 games. No, the reason why the Dodgers aren't the favorites to win the World Series doesn't have anything to do with the Dodgers themselves. Because MLB's postseason, as currently constructed, is broken. The way it's currently set up, it might actually pay off to be the second best team in your league. Since the inception of Major League Baseball, playoffs have favored the teams with the best record, maybe even a little too much, because for the first 70 years, the only playoffs was the World Series. This meant that no matter how many games your team won, if there was a team with just one more win, your team wasn't going to have a chance to play for the championship. Imagine being the 1954 Yankees and winning 103 of your 155 games and missing the playoffs because Cleveland won 111. This was the way baseball functioned until 1969, when the league finally gave in, split the teams into divisions, and introduced the League Championship Series. The two-round playoff system would exist for 24 years until they split it up again in 1994. The last edition would come in 2012 when MLB added an extra wildcard team that would compete in a one-game play-in. That is until this year, when Major League Baseball, smelling the sweet smell of extra TV revenue, or extra competitive baseball, added a third wildcard team. Throughout the entirety of expanded playoffs, the best team was supposed to be rewarded by playing the worst teams in the playoffs. At least in theory. That actually hasn't been the case. In the wildcard era, the wildcard teams are rarely the worst teams in the playoffs. For example, in 2006, the New York Mets had the best record in the National League, but they had to face off against the 88-win Dodgers instead of the 83-win Cardinals. Though it's not a sure bet that the Mets would have beat the lowly Cardinals, however, because they would go on to lose to the Redbirds in the NLCS that year. In the second wildcard era, the 2015 NL Best Cardinals had to face the 97-win Cubs, who had 5 more wins than the NL West winning Dodgers and had 7 more wins than the NL East winning Mets. The Cubs are also the second best wildcard team. Instead of getting the 90-win Mets, the Cardinals had to play the 97-win Cubs and lost. But there's no better example of this than last year's playoffs. The Giants had secured the number 1 seed in 2021, which naturally meant they had to face the winner of the wildcard game. You know, the two teams who were supposed to have the worst record in the league. Well, the wildcard team featured the St. Louis Cardinals, who had 90 wins, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who had 106. 106! The Dodgers had 11 more wins than any other National League team besides the Giants, and they had to play in the dumb play-in game. Anyway, they won on this walk-off by Chris Taylor, and ultimately defeated the Giants in the best-of-5 NLDS. The 107-win Giants had to face the 106-win Dodgers thanks to the wild card, while the 95-win Brewers got to face off against the 88-win Braves. This sucks for both the Giants and the Dodgers. The two best teams on the record have to face off in the first round of the playoffs, while the worst teams have an easier chance to advance. But this year is different, and it will likely hurt the best team in the league for years to come, not just the Dodgers. But before I explain how, let's get back to this year's Dodgers. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Dodgers aren't just good, they are bulldozing the competition. They clinched the NL West on September 13th, when there were still 21 games to play. And it's not like the rest of the teams in their division are historically bad either. The Padres are going to be in the playoffs too. And when the Dodgers lose, they don't lose by much. They've only lost 2 games this season by 6 or more runs. This means that they've only been eligible to put a position player on the mound while they were losing twice. Although nothing has stopped them from putting a position player on the mound when they were winning, which your favorite team should totally do. Watch this video after you're done with this one. They have 2 MVP candidates in Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, and have transformed a fringe starter in Tyler Anderson into one of the better starters in the league. And this is despite not having Clayton Kershaw for a full season and losing Walker Buehler to an injury back in June. This team is a juggernaut that's getting unlucky, and it's not just in the injury sense. If you trust expected wins and losses, which you shouldn't probably, their pace of 113 wins that they're currently on jumps to 117 wins, which would not just be the best in baseball this season, it would be a major league record. They've swept the season series against 4 teams, including 2 season series of 7 games against the Reds and the Cubs. I'm sure there's no fan base in baseball that would prefer to face LA over a team like the Cardinals. No offense, Cardinals fans. So what's the problem? How are the Dodgers too good for their own good? As you can probably guess, because I've already told you, it's the expanded playoffs. Another wonderful addition of the greatest commissioner of all time, Rob Manfred. Is this sarcasm? I don't know, you decide. While wildcard teams have regularly had better records than division winners, this year, because of the new wildcard series, it could continuously pay off to be the second seed instead of the first. With the addition of a third wildcard team, the one-game play-in has been discarded for a best-of-3 wildcard team series. Additionally, the division winner with the worst record would have to play in the wildcard series, while the 2 best teams in the division would get a bye, which is great for teams like the Dodgers, but not so great for a team like the Cardinals, who don't really get a reward for winning the division. This seems like it wouldn't hurt the Dodgers, right? After all, they avoid a fluky 3-game series, while another divisional winner has to risk it all. And anyone can win in a 3-game series. Remember, the Pirates have won 5 out of the 6 games that they've played against the Dodgers this year. The Pirates! But Major League Baseball doesn't want to completely neglect the division winner who has to play in this fluky series, so they seeded it in a way that would favor them over the 3 wildcard teams. The division winner would be the 1 seed, while the best and second best wildcard teams would be the 2nd and 3rd seed. This would let the division player play the worst wildcard team in the league. While this doesn't reward the best wildcard team, as they would play a team with a better record, it makes sure that winning the division mattered. The winner of the 2 and 3 seed, the best 2 wildcard teams, would go on to face the overall best team in the National League, while the winner of the 3rd best divisional winner and the worst wildcard would move on to play the 2nd best team in the National League. But as we know, the best wildcard team often has a better record than the worst division winner. So how does this affect the best team in baseball? If the season ended today, the 1st and 2nd wildcard teams would be either the Atlanta Braves or the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. The NL East team that loses out on the division is essentially going to be last year's Dodgers. Both teams are probably going to win over 100 games, but because there can only be one division winner, one of them is going to the wildcard series. And the Padres are no slouches either, as they're on track to win more games than last year's World Series winner. So what's the problem? As fine as the Padres are, they aren't going to cause an issue. And I'm not saying this as a Braves fan either. This past month has been all stress as I've watched the Mets and Braves go back and forth as they've competed to not have the potential to face LA in the division series. And that's if the NL East team can even get there. It's the fact that if the NL East team wins the wildcard series, they will likely have a much better record than the Cardinals and the 3rd wildcard team. The Brewers and Phillies are currently having a mid-off, so we'll see which team that is. The way MLB playoffs are supposed to work in theory is to reward the best team in baseball by allowing them to play the worst team in the playoffs to start it. However, that actually hasn't happened in actuality when there was just 1 or 2 wildcard teams, and it's even worse now that the way the bracket is currently drawn up. For the foreseeable future, the 2nd best team in the league could continue to see the worst playoff team in the division, while the best team in the league could see a wildcard team that is almost as dangerous as they are. This is why the Astros and the 2nd best National League team have better World Series odds than the Dodgers. It's not that the Dodgers are worse, it's that the quality of opponent that the other 2 teams will have to face are just not as good as the Dodgers. The Dodgers have the potential to face the best of the best in each round of the playoffs, while the NL East team and the Astros don't. So what can be done? MLB playoffs need the ability to reseed. Reseeding isn't entirely new to baseball either. For example, in 2004, when the Red Sox rid themselves of Nomar Garciaparra and the Curse of the Bambino at the same time, totally related, they were a wildcard team winner with 98 games. However, because of the rules at the time which didn't allow teams from the same division to face off in the division series, they didn't have to face off against the 101 win Yankees. This allowed the Yankees to face the Twins, who had won the AL Central but had 6 fewer wins than the Red Sox. However, currently no Major League sports team does this. The WNBA used to, but stop. You cowards, you had something going. But I think a selective reseeding would reward the best team in baseball like the playoffs should. Here's how it would work. Say the Braves win their wildcard series against the Padres while the Phillies beat the Cardinals in theirs. Instead of the Phillies automatically playing the Mets and the Braves heading to LA, the Dodgers get a choice. If the Dodgers want to take on the Braves, the team with a better record, they can. But if they wanted to face a team that gave them a better chance to advance to the NLCS, they could choose that team instead. Of course, this is a very anti-underdog solution, but the baseball season is incredibly long, and I think that it incentivizes playing for the best record even more. But what do you think?